supply all of the financial needs so that this job goes forward. Thus says the king. It is shocking to learn in this hostile environment that we are now in against the church that one of the very first acts of the United States Congress was to get a Bible society and fund the printing of the Bible. The United States Congress was providing money for the Bible to be printed. Try that one now. See how that goes. That ain't going to fly now. It is sad that a lot of American history and the Christian influence in American history is being whitewashed. We're just not getting the full truth. And so the king is saying that money is no object. This is going to be done. I'm going to make sure, as the king of Persia, that this temple will be dedicated. It will be built. And why is that? He did not want it to stop so that they, the Jews, may offer sacrifices pleasing to the God of heaven and pray for the well-being of the king and of his sons. Why did the king want this done? So that the people could offer sacrifices. Was King Darius a follower of Judaism? We don't know, but he was very sensitive to their way of life and wanted to see them succeed. And it is possible he was a Jew. I don't know that for a fact. The temple was completed on the 3rd day of the month of Adar in the 6th year of the reign of King Darius. Then the people of Israel, the priests, the Levites, and the rest of the exiles celebrated the dedication of the house of God with joy. So finally, after a very long, arduous trip, taking many years, and 15 years of nothing being done, finally is completed, and the people have a grand celebration. And there's nothing wrong with celebration. When God provides the blessing, we can celebrate. Let the world know what God has done in our midst and how he has answered prayer. That he would get the glory, because he and he alone is worthy of the glory.
You know, what a beautiful picture of Romans chapter 8, verse 28 here. You know, they started rebuilding the temple, and the work is stopped for 15 years. God brings a new king. He says, tell you what, he says, not only can you guys continue the work, but all your expenses are going to be paid from our treasury. Romans 8:28.
All things work together for good to those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purposes. And you look at our lives, how through our lives, through our following the Lord, through the good times and the bad, how God weaves everything together. I was sharing with Chris and Jack before anybody else came in this morning that 1 year ago this day, I was in the cardiac intensive care unit at Allegheny General Hospital. 1 year ago today, my daughter, at that time 7 months pregnant, came across Pennsylvania and drove into Pittsburgh to spend 2 days with me. God has used that in many ways. He weaves everything together. If you look at a tapestry, it's beautiful on the top, but flip that over. You've got cords and knots and all kinds of stuff. There's no sense to it. God weaves that together. one of the most well-known Christians of the last century, C.S. Lewis, said that, describing going into the train station in London, and he says, if you just look at one small section, what the trains are doing makes no sense. If you step back and see all incoming trains from all various directions, it makes perfect sense why some trains go this way and some trains go that way. It all makes perfect sense. What is truly tragic is that very few remember the date of the death of C.S. Lewis, one of the most influential minds in the first half of the 20th century. And why do people not remember his death date? It should be well known. It was on the same day that JFK was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. November 22nd, 1963. Ask anyone what happened that day, I guarantee very few, if any, will say C.S. Lewis died that day. It just gets washed away. Yes, the event involving JFK was a very big event. And it's interesting, after all these years later, the government's still not releasing the documents. What are they hiding? There's a lot of speculation about that. What we do need to do is to pray, especially over these next couple days, for this meeting in Singapore. This can go one of two ways. It can go very well, ending in peace and the denuclearization of the North Koreans, or it can go very badly and end up with both leaders at each other's throats. What's going to be the determining factor? Prayers. You had better believe the South Koreans are praying about this. And probably believers in North Korea, if they even know about it. That is such a hermit kingdom. Those people know so little of the outside world. I think part of the process that got them wanting to change is having North Koreans in February travel to South Korea for the Olympics and seeing for the first time what life was like outside of their country. Seeing McDonald's and Starbucks and Burger Kings and Wendy's and Kentucky Fried Chickens all over the place. You don't see those in North Korea. They do not exist. And even the government officials, the same man who went to the Oval Office a couple of weeks ago, sat a couple of feet from Ivanka Trump at the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games in Seoul. I don't think they even spoke to one another. How things have changed. And again, I believe it's prayer. Whatever happens is going to be on the news. I know for a fact that Fox News is spending a lot of resources on having people there. I'm sure CNN has people there, MSNBC. There are a lot of people out there who will be covering this and seeing what's going to happen. We'll see. But prayer can certainly make a difference. Prayer changes things. And why does it change things? Because it changes hearts. Why was it that King Darius flipped the previous king's edict? Prayers. I'm sure there were people who were bemoaning the fact that there was this period of time where not one hammer was being lifted on the building of the temple, and every time they passed by, they saw the building sitting there absolutely idle with no construction workers, and they called out to God. God answered. And the king changed everything with one stroke of the pen. Prayer changes things. God rebuilt the temple. And the people got the victory. See, where are we going next Sunday? Returning to God's way. And we continue in Ezra and Nehemiah. Any questions? Any comments? Thank you.
Very good.